There is a saying in our national language, that's Bangla, that paribo na ei kothati bolio na ar, ekbar na parile dekho shotobar. What it means is never say die. And what you should do is whenever you fall down, you should get up and try to succeed in life. If we look at the case today, isn't that the similar situation? 3 young entrepreneurs, what did they do? They came up with an innovative robot that washed a swimming pool. But then, unfortunately, it didn't succeed. And later, they came up with something that assured a better world. Assalamu alaikum, this is Team University of Dhaka, consisting of Wasim Saad, Samuel Hussain, Siam Rahman, and myself, Sanjir Ali. And today we are here to create a business model for the company that believes in making a better world. So, what we basically did is we had to found out the core issue. What is the core issue now? The core issue is creating a sustainable business model for IRL that will assure them success in the short run, expansion in the mid run, and sustainability in the long run. So moving on, the problems that we faced while making the business model. Problems was first, the market. So if we plan to expand, when do we go for it? Do we go in the short run? Do we go after it in the mid run? Or do we go in the long run? And if so, what are the reasons for taking that step? The next point is the financing. We can have a capital of around 7 million now. But do we actually jump for that? Or do we use minimum expenses now and save it all up for the future? Or do we spend it in an equal amount yearly? Well, that's the solution that will be discussed by my later presenters. And the last point is the chain. The supply chain right now is from the manufacturers, we get it. That is the IRL. From there, we give it to the SIs, and the SIs give it to the end consumers, that is the government. Do we continue this supply chain throughout, or do we bring a change to the supply chain? Even that will be discussed later. But before that, let us show you the target group. That means who are we targeting with the business model? Well, the problems with the target group is, if I want to go international, there is unfriendly international government. That means the government is not industry friendly, and it might prefer local participants over international ones, because what they believe in is that they are repeat purchasers. If they are satisfied with the local product, they will not necessarily go for the foreign one. The second point is underdeveloped infrastructure. As we know that the targets that they have selected, most of them are still developing nations. So for them, underdeveloped infrastructure is the issue. And the third point is corrupted government officials. It is a sad story, but it is unfortunately true. There are issues of bribing and other corruption issues that we have to deal with. But apart from the problems, the criteria for selecting the teams are, number one, budget spending. We definitely have to see how much does the international country is willing to spend for saving its natural resources. For example, the fire in the forest fire, how much is the country willing to spend to get it avoided? The second point is friendly industry. The government must be willing to ensure that they will welcome a foreign company to save themselves. And the third point is number of competitors in the location. If we penetrate to a saturated market where there is already a lot of competitors, there is a very low possibility that we will be able to succeed in that market. So what we will do is we will find a country where we feel that the competition is okay and we feel that we can do something over there. Only that target market will be selected. Now, if we go to the timeline, here you can see it's the short term, that is till 2014, 1.5 years. After that, the midterm, that is till 2020, the 6 years. And then the long term, that is after 2021. Now, the short term will be explained by Saad, after which Samuel will come up with the midterm, and then Siam will come up with the long-term financials and the risks.
Thank you, Sanjay. Now, first we'll take a look at the supply chain. Basically what happens is the consumer gives a tender to our SI, and the SI takes the product from us, and we get the product done from the manufacturer. Now, this model is not the most ideal model we would like. But the question is, in the short term, can we change our model? What we believe is we cannot. We do not have the infrastructure or the capabilities to exclude the SI from our supply chain. So what we're proposing is, for the short term, we will retain this model. And in China, out of the 10 provinces, we have captured only 1, and there are 9 left. in the short term, we will look to capture the 9 remaining provinces. Next, please. In the short term, there is a question of R&D and talent management. Right now, we do not have any sort of management training facilities, and what we believe is we should start a building step of R&D and future growth, which will ensure a sustainable development and sustainable innovation model for us, similar to what Google does. Google has a culture of innovation, and we believe for a business like us, which relies on giving value-added products on high technology, we believe that having a sustainable R&D model is very important. So what we're suggesting is we'll go to universities, recruit, present ourselves, go in the conventional way, and we see that for us, there is no reason why fresh graduates would not want to work with us. Next, please. This is the financials. Now, in the short term, we see that the corporate expense would be about 300,000, which is about 0.3 million. And the R&D, we're hoping would keep it at about 1 million. And we feel that in the short term, there is no reason to raise our capital. We would like to rely on debt security because we believe that this would be the most economical for us. Now I'll be passing on to my next team partner. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, moving on the midterm, this is the most critical period because this is where we grow. This is where our name grows, and this is where our future is decided. Now, this is where we bring the innovation. As it has been mentioned, initially in the short run, we're going for the current chain. We're not going for outside countries. We're staying in China and looking to get the 10 possible provinces that are already there with our current product. Because we assume that in the short run, we cannot actually innovate new products just like that. So we need some time for that. So that is why in the short term, in the midterm, the R&D is getting the highest preference. Okay, and we're investing a lot in R&D. Well, while moving in the midterm, we'd be bringing a change in the model. Why? Because, as it will say, what we intend is to getting 10 SIs, 10 contracts through SIs. Now, if we get out of 8 to 10 contracts, we already have a name. The government already knows that we are the company that are providing the softwares, that are providing the analysis. So we believe we can build on that name because there are 2 SIs available in China. One works in Guangdong process, if I'm wrong, sorry, and the other is in the rest of China. So what we intend to do, we intend to go to the rest of China and bid for the works ourselves. And what model we'd be deploying here? We'd be taking the contract ourselves, and the maintenance and setup of the cameras, hardwares, that would be outsourced to the company who can do it, and the manufacturing of the product, that would be also outsourced to the manufacturer that was manufacturing it before. So in this way you can see the manufacturer percentage that is staying the same. For the setup and management, we assume that 30% would be enough because we just need to provide some percentage of profit to those outsourcers, to those who would be outsourcing it too. And in this case, we can have the largest chunk of profit because we could only have 25% in the previous model, but in this model, as we are the main coordinators, we can have a better profit margin. That is the opening for this model. When we have established name, when we do not need to depend on the SIs, that they are the one we must go to, we do not have any of our own name. That's why we cannot go for this initially. Later on, we believe this is a very possible model. And now, it is a 6-year period, right? The midterm period. So we believe throughout the 6 years, in the middle of the 6 year, we believe we would be coming up with new products from R&D, research and development. And these would be the products, could be related to bridge maintenance or power plant maintenance. These would be products we'd be introducing newly in the market. With our old products in the forest fire management, we'd be introducing our new products into the market in the same way, in the same chain. And what we'll be doing is we'll be talking directly to the government and taking these direct contracts about these programs. So initially in the midterm, our also focus still remains in mainland China. China is the market to look for right now because these are the softwares that might be necessary in China in the next 6 years. And as an organization, growing organization, we feel we cannot afford to go to internationally in such a premature stage. This is the stage where we need to grow. Now, moving on, this is the period where we'll be increasing our capital to 7 million because to go to bidding directly ourselves, we need some links. We need some link-ups, we need some power, we need some financial muscle as well. So that is why we need the money now. Now is the money we need, now is the time we need money and the links. So we'll be going for angel investors. We'll be mainly looking for people who would have good connections in the markets we're trying to reach, and that is why we'll be getting money and links as well, both together in the same time. So this is the best model, best financial model we feel would suit our business model that we're suggesting. And now what else would be doing in this midterm period? Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we need to plan for the long term as well in this period. So what we intend to do is planning. How? We intend to target some markets where we might be able to sell our softwares in the long run. And we need to do some market research. Which of these markets could be profitable for us? Where could we deploy our services? And where people might need our services? These are the kind of planning and market research we need right now. And by sending or by communicating this research to those countries, we might get the work pretty early, or they might consult us by themselves. Better than that, there is the model development, how we might do the business in those countries, or how we might deploy our model, business model in those countries, the chain. And lastly, the product development. As it has been said before, the R&D continues throughout the process, development of the product, especially for China, the bridge infrastructure monitoring models, and for outside China, would be looking forward to the models of oil overseeing softwares, as it has been mentioned. Now, these are our plans for the midterm. The main function of these plans is growth, looking for growth and tapping the opportunity that lies for us in the long term. So this is the growth period. Now, Sia would be coming with the long-term opportunities.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Let us consider a scenario if all our plans go accordingly. What do we have? We have a company which has started, and within 5 to 6 years, it had extended its business to over 10 provinces in China, and with the help of the Chinese government. Now, after the international exposure it has, and the reports that the Chinese government will surely circulate about how efficiently and effectively it has managed the danger of forest fires, we will certainly get a bit of international recognition. And of course, by then, our research and development wing will have brought out some new products regarding oil and pipeline or the electricity generators. Now, which countries should we target with our original forest fire prevention? Firstly, outback Australia, and of course, the prairies of North America. Why? Because these are the most forest fire prone places in the developed world. As mentioned in our case and also from our own insight, we can safely assume that the developed nations are willing to pay a good deal of money for us. Because after all, us as a business company, money talks. And the developed countries, unlike the developing countries, they will be willing to give a premium for our products. They want state-of-the-art facility, especially when it comes to the citizen safety. If our R&D can bring up much more technologically advanced, yet pricier models by that time, then that might be a good business model for advancing into the developed nations. And of course, MENA, that is Middle East and North Africa, could be a good possible probable place for our oil and gas technologies. And by then, we will have our own maintenance. So we get a bigger chunk of the profit, and also we get a huge market that encompasses most of the parts of the world, and of course, the most populous world. Next slide, please. And of course, the most populous nation in the world, China. Why do we want to sustain China? The way our company's business model was designed, it is very important for government liaison. Without the support of the government, we cannot win the tenders, the bids of the tenders. Without their goodwill, we cannot go on with ourselves. So, by sustaining China and making a national industry dominance, why did we use the strong terms as dominance? The 3 competitors listed, yes, one of them has been there for over 10 to 15 years, but the range of products they cover, it is much larger than us. Yet, it is not included in the 5-year plan of the Chinese government. And the other one, they are technologically much more advanced than us, but they specialize on aerial maneuvers and which do not operate well in bad weather conditions. So we can say safely that in our side, we are free of competitors for the time being. And of course, we will invite international investment if we are to go on outside. Next slide, please. These international investors will be given a stake in our company so as to provide the necessary political and economic clout. Now, by the long-term financials, by the long term, we will have picked up all the 7 million capital as asked in our case. By the long term, that is by 2021, we will have used up all the 7 million capital, and also we will have invited foreign investors, and our shares will be priced according to market valuation if we can go on to become a publicly limited company by that time. Now, Samuel will provide a summary of the financials we have provided for these 3 terms. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before summaries, what do we have the risk regarding our business model? Well, the first is the quality assurance, right? What about the quality of our product? For that, we're suggesting a monitoring and evaluation strategy. Well, for the monitoring and evaluation, we'd be doing periodic and continuous evaluation and periodic continuous tracking and periodic evaluation that the customers, the consumers, whether they're satisfied with a model or not. If they're satisfied, then we'd stick to the current business. If they're not satisfied, we try to find out the problem and therefore identify and solve the problem where there is a problem. Then comes the risk of plagiarism. As it's very possible and said, what if someone steals our design or the software? So obviously we have to go for the copyright in the final year, because this business is a long-term consideration, right? So we cannot afford to take the risk of having someone else steal our big idea. So even if it costs a bit in the short term, but we're going for the copyright in the short term. And the last one we're having here is the standstill, innovative culture. What if the culture, the innovative culture talking about, it doesn't work, it doesn't click? So we want to ensure a flow of talents from different point of view, different points, and through this, because as we have been saying, R&D, 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 this is one of the most important points. If we do not have product, we do not have nothing to sell. We have no profit, no money. So this standstill is a risk, and we need to overcome this. So we'd be ensuring talent inflow from different points. There's some suggestions like we can look for maybe business competitions or technological competitions through which new programmers would come on and suggest new programs. And through these ways, we can actually look for new talents always. And the competitors, as it has been already discussed, the competitors in our case in mainland China are not a big factor as we were thinking, because we have a price advantage over them, and their focus, as we have found out, are actually somewhere else. So that is why we believe we can beat the competitors with a better model and with the management team we currently have. So these are the risks we need to think, and we think we have ways through this risk, all of this risk. And lastly, the overall finances. As you can see, the operating costs, we believe, can be covered by the profits we'll be making through our business. Now, what if we believe in the short run, because we'll be going for 3 things: the copyright, which costs 0.3 million, then the R&D. We have assumed that this could take up to 1 million, and lastly, the recruitment, this could cost us 0.2 million. So this is 1.5 million. Well, in the short run, as I mentioned, we do not need investors, because we're looking to we're already in a relation with the SI, and we're not looking for something else. So we do not need investors right now. So we can actually go with debt security to cover the costs we have incurred, and we're actually looking for the profits to cover some of the costs as well, the operating costs. Then the midterm, the main costs would be R&D, the product development, and the market research we're talking about. And these costs will be covered by increasing the capital to 7 million. 6 million will be getting through this period, and we believe these costs can be covered in this time through the 6 million. In the long term, the cost we have occurred is yet to be valued, because the company's value might rise throughout the 7 years. And due to the rise of that value, we're yet to assume the company's value. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all from us, University of Dhaka. Thank you for your patience.
You mentioned that in the midterm you're going to set up your own management company, right?
Ma'am, if I may answer. All right. What we are going to do is that for the short term, we are sticking with the SI, and out of the 10 provisional provisions that they have under control, we will be sticking with the SIs throughout. But then, as I said, that there are 2 SIs. With one SI, we actually have very good links, and among them, one of us is already a business stakeholder. So what we'll do is, with his help, we will go to the rest of the China, where he will be bidding as a tender, and through him, we'll not have any SIs, but the stakeholder himself will go and bid, and then we will outsource the maintenance, and we'll carry out the business. What we are doing, the reason we are doing this is because it will increase the profit margin. This will give us more control in the quality management, because right now, the people who we are outsourcing the maintenance and infrastructure, we can have more control over that. We can look over it, whether they are doing it right or wrong, whether the quality of the product is maintained or not. We can do that as well. And since the manufacturer is also a stakeholder, we can also make sure that the quality of the product that is being made is good. That's what the whole strategy is.
If I make it a little bit clear, there is actually 2 SIs we're talking about. One is for the Guangdong province, and it's for the rest of China. So as we're already in a relation with Guangdong province SI, we're not breaking that relation. So we're going into partnership wherever we can with them. And we're making the rest of China actually a competitor to us in the other provinces where we're trying to bid for ourselves. Right? And we believe these bidding could be profitable because we can compete with them in terms of prices, in terms of costing. So we believe that we can outbid them with the reputation we've gained over the 8 or 10 contracts we've got in the initial short period. So that's why I believe that in midterm we can actually compete with the rest of the China and get our own contracts. And we have another opportunity here, that is the outsourcing of the maintenance of the hardwares. So we can actually, if we get the contracts, we can actually outsource. We have to outsource it to someone, right? So if the SIs, they're already maintaining such things over different ways, right? So we can actually try to outsource it to them as well. In that way, they would also be profiting from us getting the deal. They might not be such a huge competitor in that case.
Can I add a bit more? All right. Another problem with the SI is that in the long run, there is a possibility that they will back down and turn as a competitor for us. Because it is mentioned in the case that there is this risk that in the long run, the SIs will actually might be competitors and they might produce their own software. So in that case, because since there is a possibility for this to happen, what we are doing is we are taking a pre-step before it in order to create a perfect solution. That's it.
So in your new model, not so relying on the SI, will you use the same model for other markets when you say about Australia or the Middle East? So
In case of developed and developing markets, we have to make a demarcation. Firstly, for the developing markets of MENA, Middle East and North America or Latin America, we will face, certainly, most probably, we will face some political disturbance, probably probably a hostile reaction from the government, and because we will not have the same facilities we have in China. In that case, we will go for SIs situated in that country. In those countries, after all, they know their region well, and they know how the ins and outs of their own country. But us as a foreign company, it might be difficult for us to absorb ourselves in that. So in the case of such developing or emerging nations, yes, we use the old model SIs. But when we go on to the developed countries, that is for USA and Australia for the prior reasons, there we might use our own model. That is, we might be our own SIs in that case.
And let me ask one more question.
Yes,
even for China, because most of their business are on relationship based.
Yes.
So do you see that if you sort of bypass or not that reliance on the SI, will make it difficult for you to penetrate into the other provinces?
Yes, I think in this case, we actually relied on that, the Chinese culture of knowing each other well. And of course, the Chinese people rely a lot on long-term commitment and long-term human relationship. Here, the SIs we worked with, it has been mentioned in the case specifically that many of them are now promoted and are now high-ranking government officials. So that's why my friend here mentioned that we will maintain the relationships we had with the SIs. under no circumstances, under no chance of business gain, will we break that relationship. And those SIs will also serve as our future contacts. But when we go on to other provinces of China, we haven't done business there yet, and they are not our SIs yet. In that case, without harming our relationship, we can move on and take the maintenance work in our hands.
Sir, if I may add, sorry, but the point is that the fifth person who became stakeholder was claimed to have very strong social networks, which means that we already have good relations with the government, or we can probably assume that we have a good relationship with the government. Thereby, we expect that even though if we don't have SIs, but the fifth direct stakeholder that has joined our company has very strong PR connections, very strong social connections. Thereby, we expect that even if we don't have SIs, we will have a chance to get those contracts. Thank you.
I'm a little bit confused by your financing and funding. You talk about debt. I'm sorry, I don't need the slides. You talk about debt security as your methodology, but your debt security is often some form of fixed return through interest or something else. But you then say you wish to approach angel investors to provide that debt financing and to use angel investors who have links or strength. So you want to use the angel investor for more than just money. But you don't seem to be providing what an angel investor would typically want, which is access to the upside value of your company if you're only giving him debt. So how do you encourage the angel investor into your company offering only debt financing?
So what we mean by debt security is that initially in the short term, if we run out of money for the operations, we might go out for loans. Right? And in the midterm, from the angel investors, we are actually not looking for loans from them. Mm-hmm. We're looking for them to invest in our company as becoming a part of the ownership. So they will be getting the returns as well. So they'll be working, giving their ideas and their.
So the short term, you're expecting bank financing or something
right,
like that?
if necessary.
And you have cash flow for that?
Right.
So
your anticipated cash flow is from your 7-8 contracts, is it?
Sir, there's already a capital of 3 million. So we have, as we have shown, the expenses are around 1.5. But even if our calculation goes wrong and it exceeds 3 million, only then do we plan to go for debt security. But we hope that according to our plan, it wouldn't exceed the 3 million limit. But even if it does, only then we'll go for debt security. And as I said, that the angel investments, they will gain stakeholdership or ownership of the company. We won't be giving them the money back, but rather a small percentage or small proprietorship.
And yes, we expect cash inflow from the one contract we have already got, and for the ones that are coming in our way, as we expect.
Sorry, just very quickly. The 3 million capital you talk about, but you've already consumed 1 million of it, haven't you? In the initial up to 2012.
Yes.
So you're anticipating another 1.5 being consumed here,
yes,
which would only leave you 0.5, right?
Yes.
Okay, understand.
But as a startup company, do you see difficulty getting banks loan because they don't know you well? So it's quite risky for the bank to loan you money, right?
Well, we thought that with the kind of business model we have, we see a good future. As in, we're expecting more and more contracts from the ACRC. And I think if we go to a bank and if we show that the level of risk is quite low, I think getting a loan would not be that much difficult.
Because so the loan would be needing, we believe it would not reach up to a very high amount.
Yes, given our capital, I think it would be a very understandable amount.
I have a question about, whether you'll be really be softened, because here it mentioned that except government of Africa and Middle East countries, all the emerging markets, they only have a credit terms as long as 300 days to a year from vendors. So, would you have enough money to sustain, because you will not be receiving any money until a year after?
Well, but that is in the mid to long term, because in the short term, we will only be concentrating on China. But the emerging countries will be going later on. And we're hoping that by that time, we will have a good cash flow to sustain that problem.
And if I may add to that, ma'am, we'll be targeting MENA because MENA, like Middle Eastern countries, what they do is they give advance payments. So in that case, if we get the advance payment, then we can work on it, and running out of capital or money will not be a problem.
Can I just understand your proposed expansion into alternatives such as electrical, oil and gas? Very quick question on that. Are you actually exploiting and expanding on your existing technology, or are you talking about completely independent technology being developed?
No, it has been mentioned in the case that maybe within 2 to 3 years, the technology regarding the oil and gas and the electricity might be completed. And after that, we don't know what might happen, or what technologies might arise, or what our competitors might invent before us. So we mentioned that because it was mentioned in the case that it would take 2 years, so we inputted them inside our midterm plan.
Understand.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.